All right, there we are. So not only is the handle fixed, you've got some kind of number one thing after you. What does that mean? Oh, top fans. Well, isn't that cute? I knew that. All right, I knew you were my top fans. Let's talk a little bit about. Let's talk a little bit. I'm gonna touch on a couple things here. We haven't necessarily finished all of the pentatonic shapes. We could go. Basically, we've got one more we can do. We started in the 5th position. We went to the 7th position. We went basically to the 10th position. Now we're at the 12th position. And ultimately, you want to be fluid with the pentatonics kind of throughout. Now, one of the points I want to make today is that scales don't make a solo. In fact, sometimes the less you say, the better. Almost always the less you say, the better. Okay, but now Joseph doesn't have the number one thing, and then Bob now is number 2. It's like, wow, that's so weird. Fan points, all right. So I guess you get more fan points for commenting, maybe? I don't know. No, that won't work, because then you'll just keep putting stuff. Now I've got this. I've changed a little bit so I've got studio light on. This, turn that off. It gets a little. I don't know which is better. That looks a little better to me. Portrait was no good. We decided portrait was no good because it blurs out the headstock. And then reactions. If I do a heart like that, wait, heart. Is it going to do it? Or thumbs up? Come on. Where are my reactions here? Heart? No. I can click on it. We can have a party. Where's the party? Is this the party? Oh, fireworks. Oh, look at that. Look at the guitar. And then we got balloons. Woo! This is rain. I don't want rain. Aw. This is the party. That's pretty cool. It's cool how some of the confetti goes behind me. That's dope. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's awesome. All right. And Joseph is back to number 1. It's just funny. It's like, yeah, sorry, I must have gotten my thumb in front of the camera for just a split second, and it focused and would not focus on me, so I had to reboot the whole thing. And I deleted that last video. But yeah, we talk about this all the time, about that a solo, you should be kind of continuing the conversation that the song is having. And if it's an instrumental, that's maybe a little bit different thing. Obviously, if it's an instrumental, you probably are going to have more elbow room, more room to kind of explore and show off. I don't mean show off, but I just, play busier. One of the things, and then the other thing I want to talk about on this progression, and so I'm talking about this knowing that we haven't done the last pentatonic shape yet, and they're all here. I can do it in a second, but we really didn't talk about playing just a pure, simple A minor over it. Okay, and I'm going to give you some information right now. I don't want your brain to fry. Okay, there's not going to be a quiz on this. Everybody take a celebratory sip here. Hey, Don, what's going on? I'll say shout outs here in a second. But when you play A minor over this progression, okay, A minor scale, which is the same as a C major scale. So if okay, that's a C major scale. We can play this together. I'll try to go slow for you. First finger on the 5th fret of the 3rd string, and then 3rd finger on the 7th fret of the 3rd string. And then on the 2nd string, we're going to go index 1, 2, 4 on the 5, 6, 8. Or 5, 6, 8. Okay, and then we're going to finish up with 5, 7, 8. And that's a C major scale. Now, really, we could stop at the A because we're in A minor, just to kind of give you some guardrails here. And then we could continue. We're on the C, we could continue down, go down 1 fret with your first, just like that, and then hit this note. Or you could get that B note here instead of here, but this is... Okay, now if I play like 2 octaves of it, and go up to C or whatever, contained in that scale, that A minor scale, an A natural minor, we can call it A Aeolian. Again, no quiz on any of this, but as I say these things, someone might say, oh, play A natural minor, and you've heard it here. And you go, oh, that's just A minor. Someone may say, hey, play A Aeolian, and you might, because of this conversation, you might know that that was an A minor scale. And we've talked about all the modes, and we've talked about them. So, you know, but these things, if you don't use them, they kind of get fuzzy, right? But contained in every one of these, contained in this scale, this 7-note diatonic scale, are all of the pentatonics. So pentatonic, the A minor pentatonic is here. Is some of those notes, is 5 of those notes. The E minor pentatonic is a different set of 5. Remember how we moved down to get that B note? Well, there it is in the E minor pentatonic. And then the D minor pentatonic, it moves the E's to the F's. The difference between D minor pentatonic and A minor pentatonic, no quiz, is that the E's go up to F's, is one way you can think of it. And all of those notes are in the A minor scale. So you could just play an A minor scale. Let me do a little bit of that so you can see it. And I'm gonna do it without really thinking about the chords. I'm just gonna play A minor scale licks. Sorry, I didn't know what it was. Okay, so it sounds kind of random, but all of the notes for those pentatonics are there. If I was a little bit more aware of what chord was happening, I would make cogent decisions or cogent changes. And so you know. But what the diatonic scale does that the pentatonic scales can't really do is give you some half steps. And those half steps are really kind of where a lot of the pretty stuff happens. So if I'm going even over the A minor, I like that, right? Let me just vamp the A minor. How's the balance, by the way? Is it okay? Sorry, I'm not. Yep. So A minor, you hear that A minor chord in there? So just take your first finger, go to the 5th fret of the 2nd string and just go. And that's a very Aeolian thing to do. You wouldn't want to play A Dorian because, now, in an A minor vamp you could. A minor vamp you can play kind of anything because we don't know what key we're in yet. There are 3 keys that have A minor. E minor has an A minor chord in it. D minor has the key of D minor has an A minor in it, and the key of A minor has an A minor in it, obviously. Okay, so at this point with one chord we don't know, but we all know what's the chord progression is. So that F sharp might sound good out of complete context without knowing anything about what we're going to play next. That F sharp. So now I'm playing an A minor or A Dorian scale. And so again, out of context, with only an A minor chord as your guide, it could be anything. It could be any of the A minor scales. Okay, I could even play a Phrygian, which would be the A minor scale, but with the flatted second. So it would be that kind of almost like, I like to use it kind of in a heavy metal kind of context, but it's a little weird sounding here. Again, if we were in the key of D minor, then this would be a note that would be naturally in it. You can just start right there. First string, 5th fret, hammer on the 2nd finger. Okay, so just that one thing, you take the root, we're A minor chord, you take that root, A, and go up a half step, and you're heavily implying a Phrygian scale. Phrygian scale is kind of weird because it starts with a half step. And it's relative to the key of F major. Okay? But we know that the chord progression is going to go to E minor and D minor, so we know the chord progression's in A minor. So we go back to our A minor scale. And the two notes that we added, that F, half step up from the E, and the B, which is a half step below the C, neither of those are in the pentatonic. So you can go back and forth between the A minor pentatonic. And into the diatonic at will. The pentatonics are great because there's 2 notes per string. So you can do fast licks with pentatonics. You should be able to get to the point where you're able to do. I'm probably even faster with diatonic scales in the right context, but you can kind of lean into the pentatonics in a moment when you want a little flurry, and then use the diatonic, the full 7-note scale, to kind of create a more melodic ideas. The B and the C. Putting in a blues note in there. Diatonics. Dynamics are real important. You know, breathe. Almost even like you're singing it, and at the end of a phrase, you're kind of almost running out of breath. You can do that kind of stuff. Check it out. See that? You can also go from picking with your pick to not picking at all. Or using your fingers to give it a little bit more slap. turn your pick 45 degrees to get a rounder sound. It's pretty subtle. I can hear it in here, but you might not be able to hear it there. But try turning your pick 45 degrees so that you're kind of rolling off of the string with the tip of your pick. Kind of like, woo, it's like going over a speed bump almost. You know, you can even go like, 90, or that would be 90 degrees, right? And you can really feel it, but you don't need to go that far. You go like 45 degrees. Or you go straight on, you get more of a slappy, spanky sound. And I always just kind of keep my pick right here. See my second finger? Oh, shoot. If I do that, I'm going to get blurry. Okay. Yeah, so second finger, I got the pick there. Again, I'm in A minor only, so I could go Dorian if I want. But if I go to the full scale, okay, now the next chord is E minor. Ah, finally a chord change. That F is gonna sound kind of weird over the E minor. It's going to sound great over the D minor. It's pretty much the only time it's going to sound great. And here's the thing. Okay, so again, no quiz on this. Sam, are you here? Sam's probably already Sam, if he was here, would probably have already said this. So if I play an A minor scale over A minor, it's an A minor scale. If I play all the notes in an A minor scale over D minor, okay, it's a D Dorian scale. In other words, the notes in it are the same as a D Dorian scale. Then the chord changes to E minor, essentially that A minor scale is going to sound like an A or an E Phrygian scale. I haven't changed a thing, but the harmony changed. That's why I had well, he will be nameless. I'm not going to name him. But there was a bass player that used to play at church with us. And he, great player. And in some ways, I think, and everybody take a sip because I changed guitars. I think in some ways he was probably too bored because he was so good. Let me just tune. I'm not in a weird tuning. I was writing a fingerstyle song last night. That's another thing I could do is try to write. I've done that before, right? Where I wrote a song right here with all of you. Well, we've written a song together. I know that. Like a country song or something. But this bass player would get kind of bored. And say the song is, let's go way old school worship song, Lord, I lift your name on high, G, C, D, C, right? And that's fine. I mean, that's just the way the song is. But he might get a little bored, instead of playing G in the bass and then C and then D, that's like too pedestrian for him. He might play a B in the bass, which is on the G chord, which isn't awful, so... There's something a little unresolved about the B, the G over B instead of the G, which is intentional. So it's a writing tool. It's using alternate bass notes is a tool. Now, I actually told the guy, I said, look, if the chart has one slash chord in it, meaning like G over B, because it looks like a slash, G slash B, right? If the music has one slash chord, then, dear bass player, the songwriter knows that you can use slash chords in his composition. If there's no slash chords in the whole song, then maybe it's a very simplistic song, and maybe it wasn't. Maybe it's just a breakdown. Oh, thank you, Joseph. You bought my coffee for me. I appreciate that. Giving Joseph a big thumbs up. Oops. Let's see if I can trigger it. I thought I should be able to trigger a thumbs up. Where's the thumbs up? Because I actually triggered the hearts earlier when I was experimenting. It's so silly, but I'll give you a thumbs up. There it is, right there. Boom. Oh, my guitar's imagining a thumbs up, and I'm gonna give you a big heart thing. There we go. And what the heck? I'll go ahead and celebrate here. The coinage. I appreciate it. Okay, and heads up, the next 3 weeks I won't be here. Now, next Monday, I've got work and some travel things going on, and it just all falls on Mondays. You know how it is, right? If I can do a Tuesday next week, I will try to remember, okay? Bruce, maybe if you think of it, text me on Monday just to remind me. But I will be in the studio Monday, and I won't be here. I'll be in, I think I'm going to be at Henson in Hollywood. This bass player, like for example, I could sub out all these chords, do the minor sub, and so if he plays an E on the G, see, if he plays an E in the bass, it changes the chord. If the bass player plays an E in the bass, it changes it to an E minor 7 chord from a G chord, and that's not what the chart says. And he could also change the C to an A minor, and he could change the D to a B minor, and end up with, instead of, I'm still not tuned, but let me get this bad boy in tune. The fan creates a flutter. It's so weird. Oh, that B string was sharp. And the G string was a little flat. Kind of all over the place here. Okay. And so if I sub the minus, the melody still works. We talked about this years ago. Any melody that works over a G chord is probably going to work over E minor chord and so on and so forth, the minor sub. And same thing, you could say the same, any melody that works over E minor might work over G. It's not always the case, but that changes the entire mood of the song, and he was doing that stuff all the time. So I had to let him go. I was just like, I told him not to do it, and he kept doing it, and I was like, in my family, willful disobedience got you a spanking. No, I wasn't going to do that. Is there a laugh on here? I don't see laugh. What's this? Oh, holy snap. That's crazy. All right. So back to the progression. So but now we have the E minor chord in there, and so you can just play E minor pentatonic. Minor doesn't sound bad if you go to the B. If we were just to play pure A minor pentatonic, and you'd have no tool to resolve, then it's a little weird. That's why I'm showing you the A minor scale. I mean, I can just sit on B and C the whole. So again, remember I said, and again, there's no quiz on this, but remember I said, now technically that A minor scale sounds like a Phrygian scale over the E minor, okay? The same thing's true for a note. If you just hold one note, like that B note, and we've done this before, and there's common tones. I could do an E. There's an E in both the A minor chord and the E minor chord, and there's an E in both the E minor, pentatonic, and then the A minor pentatonic too. But the B is a little bit more of a special note. So that's going to be a second over the A minor, and it's going to be the fifth over the E. So it's going to be a little out of the pocket for the A minor chord and very in the pocket for the E minor. Check it out. A little haunting here. No surprise here, right? And then A minor. Ooh, so it kind of wants the result. But with the E over the, the B over the E minor chord, it doesn't want to go anywhere. See, if I go anywhere, it wants to leave that spot and go back. So, for example, over the A minor, I could take that B note, right, and resolve it up to C, or I could take that B note, and that's going to sound great over the E minor chord. But over the B chord, I want to stay there. So if I go away from it, if I go down to that A note, the next note in the scale below it, then I want to go back up to the B. Does that make sense? Hey, Sam, we were talking about you. Or I was talking about you. And then somebody must have called him. And also, if I go up to that C note over the E minor chord, it's going to be a little weird sounding, and it's going to want to go back to the B minor. Or the B natural. So check this out. You see that? So I feel like a lot of times the notes themselves are telling you where they want to go next. And so we've talked about this. The whole part about music is creating tension and release, right? I haven't done. Oh, I dropped my sleeve. Not that it's hot, so I don't have to worry about it. But that's kind of the whole, almost the entire concept of music is to create tension and to somehow create some release. That's what cadences are. Like the amen cadences. The 4/1 cadence at the end of a hymn. All right. Now, if we continue, if I go back to the full, I wonder if I have an A minor scale I can throw in here. Let me see if I have something in the folder. Where would that be? Desktop. YouTube. Let's see. Oh, nope, that's weird. What scale is that? Sorry, I'm just scrolling. Oh, here it is, right? Oh wait, this is the wrong fret. I can maybe. Let me let's see if I find an A minor one. We have done a lot of diagrams for this channel. Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this E minor one, and I'm just going to crop it. There it is. All right. Crop. I'm going to have to do a little bit of erasing. Oh, that doesn't matter. You'll see a little bit of a TH at the end of something. Okay. So basically, this is the scale that I'm playing. All right. And that note that's by itself down there, the red dots are A's, so those are roots. I'm going to put these pentatonics over here. So if If I need them later, I got them, right? They don't need to be pretty. Sorry if you're OC8 or OCD and you like, wait, Tom, those aren't all the same size. Yeah, I don't. You're gonna have to black out the corner of the screen. You're gonna have to cover it with a towel, paper towel or something. Okay, so this is the scale. If you look at that first red dot, that's the 5th fret if we're in A minor. So definitely it goes 2 octaves. You can see this first octave, then the next octave. We have 3 A's. When we continue, we can, if we want. The other thing that's not a bad idea to do, and we've talked about this before, is maybe playing the pentatonics or the scales on one string. I feel like you learn a lot when you do that. Like, for example, if I play the A minor pentatonic here, right here, on the G string, I got G and then A, C, D, right? And then if I change that to G minor or E minor pentatonic, I got... You see that C to B change. If I play the D minor pentatonic starting on the G string, a G, A. So let me play it just on, let me see if I can play along here. That's ugly. Yeah, I feel like you really start to learn the fretboard when you do that. I think that's a really big help. I could play the pure A minor, the whole A minor scale. And again, it's gonna make you play melodies you never would have played. Like, check this out. Like, you know. Get the idea. Those are not melodies necessarily I would have played if I was playing in one position and using a scale shape. But this is the scale shape I was using before. And the red notes are all A's. If we play this at the 5th fret, wherever we move this, it's going to be that key. So if I move to the 7th, so my red note here is on the 7th fret, then that's going to be a B minor scale. Move it up another fret to the 8th fret, that's going to be C minor scale. All right. Anyway, so what's going on? So hey, on. You know what? I haven't been saying many highs. Let me say highs. Bruce, thanks for being here, man. I know you're on vacation. Like I said, I'll be gone probably the next 3 weeks, but I may try to connect next week after, like on Tuesday. Bruce, if you think of it, maybe hit me Monday to remind me, because I'll forget. You know, it's just one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. And then, all right, so now, okay, so I told you we were going to talk about a diatonic scale, and we have one more pentatonic to do, the 3 different snippets, but you get the idea. Again, on the snippet thing, the idea isn't just to show you a bunch of scales so that you can play scales over a solo or to solo, because that ultimately is not what's going to make a good solo, right? But if I take those snippets that I did, if you start to learn them, like I said, if you spent a week with this jam track, if you spent a week on it in the fifth position, changing the the pentatonic. All right, and then the next time you spend another week playing in the next position. And then you spent the next week in the next position. And then we did the last week or 2 weeks ago. We did the up here at the 12th fret. If you were to spend a week, whatever, you could set your alarm to say, I'm going to do this jam track twice. So that's maybe 15 minutes of practice every day for a week, among other practices if you've got time. I know we're all busy, but some of us are not. Some of us are retired, and we're trying to develop something. And I'm going to tell you. I'll be 64. Let's see, when is my birthday? Thursday? So I'll be 64 on Thursday. When I'm 64. And Beth will still love me and need me. I'm still learning stuff. I'm still getting new things under my fingers. For me, the hardest thing to kind of get is more the mental stuff where I'm like, okay, I need to think about this progression or this jazz turnaround in a different way. I need to think about it this way. Some of the actual things that I thought would be more difficult would be the dexterity stuff. I don't know that I'm ever going to get faster than I was when I was a kid, but I don't really need that so much. And then I surprise myself because then I'll be in a situation live or something where I'm playing, and it just I turn on the jets and it takes off. But I have learned some new skills. I can show you one in a little bit. Hopefully I can do it. But the flamenco stuff I've been working on, the rumba stuff, the Spanish kind of things, I've been trying to kind of get those under my fingers. I also want to work on some banjo stuff, but I want to work on clawhammer. And I've kind of watched some videos and kind of had it down for 10 minutes, and then I put it down for a month and I don't. So one of the things that's allowed me to kind of get some of these rumba patterns and the flamenco stuff down is that I've been doing it every day. I don't know that I've been setting my alarm for 15 minutes, but I probably spend 15 minutes a day just kind of shredding on it, trying to come up with patterns or playing along with beats, tracks, something like that. I actually have a Roomba groove thing I created. And just try to get super comfortable at it, make it feel natural. That's because for me professionally, for recording, I need it to sound like I've been doing it all my life. And that is a skill that's very rare, but a lot of guitar players, there are guitar players here in LA that have that skill, that where they can really kind of get something down in a couple months and then make it sound like they've been doing it. That's the only style they've ever played. I've seen guys do it on the fly. Yeah, I remember working with Michael Thompson. This is not anything Spanish or any new style, but when Michael Thompson's a really good session guitar player, and I sat next to him on a TV show, and he was sight reading, and he was playing those notes the way he was playing it, and it was a huge lesson for me. He put a lot of stuff in it, like it was written And that's how I would have read it. I'm like, oh. That's not what the composer didn't say anything except those notes, but he was like, he would put all sorts of special sauce on it, and it was crazy because his tone was amazing, and he was also like basically playing with every note and make it sound like a guitar player. And I feel like, you know, that's one of the things that makes it difficult to sample or emulate guitar, the AI thing. So, but like I said, if you practice every day, you're going to start to get things down. You'll be surprised. You'll start to see progress. You have to be pretty vigilant. I think the everyday thing in my 7 tips for older beginners, I said 5 minutes every day, but I didn't mean 5 minutes every day, and I think I made that clear in the video. I said, do at least 5 minutes every day, and you'll find yourself doing more. I mean, 5 minutes every day is still better than 30 minutes once a week. But likelihood, if you actually start that 5 minutes, it'll turn into 10, 15, 20, 30, 40. And that's kind of the whole idea. So when I solo over this using those pentatonics, and so that's, you'll be able to be more fluid and just be able to play wherever you kind of hear something. I mean, that last lick that I did, which kind of was a weird lick, right? I've never done that specific lick. I've never done before. I was just in the zone, and what I was doing was I was going, if I have a hold step between two notes, so in this pentatonic I have an E and a D. I'll treat that note in between as a grace note. And then again, I have D to C. I'm just showing you my brain. But this one was I could have done 3 notes, 3 chromatic notes, right? So I could have done something. I could have done that. But instead, what I did was I went, and then when I got to this minor third, this 3 fret spread, I did the 3 diatonic notes in A minor. So I still had the same number of notes. So what I did was I created kind of a double thematic idea. The first part of it was a rhythmic idea. Da-da-da, 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 da-da-da. I played the da-da-da on different, on different beats, not just da-da-da, da-da-da, da-da-da. I made it a little bit more tense by moving it over an 8th note every other time. So da-da-da, ba-da-da, da-da-da, ba-da-da. And so technically I'm playing kind of a 3 pattern over a 4. I'm not even thinking about the chord change at this point. And then the other thing that the other thematic thing that I'm doing is I'm just playing on 1 string. I go, okay, I'm going to play this all the way down to 1 string. So it was just an idea, and I liked it. I thought, okay, that's cool. Let me go, and when you're in the zone, when you've got facility, when you've got agility, when you have, and like I said, I've never played that lick before in my life. It was, you know, I try not to like go, okay, I'm going to memorize a bunch of licks and I'm going to use them. My memory stinks. I try to do that with 2-5-1 progressions. I try to come up with a bunch of these that I've memorized, and it's just not the way to play jazz. First off, secondly, it's not the way I'm ever going to learn how to play jazz because my memory is not good enough. Then I was like, okay, but if I start with different pentatonic shapes, and I can. And that's true. I find that I'm more likely to come up with these ideas if I'm just in the zone and thinking, you know, about the chords that I'm playing over. Less about memorizing phrases, if that makes sense. Okay, so, yeah. So, wait, where's Sam? Is Sam still here? So Sam, you're wondering what? Oh yeah, present. Okay. So the thing I was talking about was this diatonic scale. You know, we've been doing the pentatonics. I said, look, when the chord changes, that A minor pentatonic, when we go to the D minor chord, it's going to sound like a D. It's going to sound like a Dorian scale. And then when the chord changes to the E minor, it's going to sound like a Phrygian scale. But you don't change a thing. And I said, Sam would have known that. He probably would have said it. That was the reference, if you're wondering. It wasn't mean-spirited. It was a bow down to your knowledge. All right, so yeah. So again, if we look at this scale or this progression and the scale. I'm trying not to really think about the chord change. I'm just playing the scale, kind of doing random things on the scale and then reacting to the chords more than try to think about the chords. That's kind of how a lot of people play. You can. I personally do that. I don't think it's necessarily the right thing to play. I think probably because what it sounds like, and you may not know it's happening, but you might know it subliminally. But it sounds like you're reacting to the chords instead of knowing the chords. And so one of the keys to that's why I hammered you guys playing the blues, just the progression. I don't know how long we spent on that, just playing the progression before we even started the solo. But it wasn't long enough. And the idea, one of the things that makes the blues easy to play over is the fact that you've heard it so much and you've probably played it so much, so you know the progression. And so you know what's coming. There are no surprises. And so you can kind of set that up with your melodic ideas. But then there's the other, I said that makes it easy. Well, it's not easy because it's the same progression over and over again. It's really difficult to have an original statement. I mean, I'm trying to think if I've ever seen. I mean, I've seen online entire blues shows. Like I've watched Stevie Ray Vaughan on Soundstage, was it, or Austin City Limits? And he was on twice. And if you watch both of those, Like you watch the first time, you can see he's nervous. The second time, he's like freaking Stevie Ray Vaughan. Like the first time, he's like Stevie Ray Vaughan. The next time, he's like Stevie Ray Vaughan. And even the first time, he's still insane. One of the things that he did though was he. Not every song was a straight ahead blues progression. The other thing is not every feel was the same. I've never seen B.B. King live or never saw him live. I kind of imagine it might, well, if you're a B.B. King fan, it's not going to be boring. But I feel like maybe there are some blues players that kind of play everything the same. And that's why vocals are real important, because then every song is a different song. And that's really kind of the case with B.B. or any of them. But even Stevie Ray Vaughan sang, he didn't just play instrumentals. If he just played instrumentals, he probably wouldn't have gotten famous. I should rewatch that though. It's a really good. Both of those are really good. It's a really good study in how much someone can progress in a very short period of time. Because I don't know what the distance was between those two. Somebody looked that up. Well, like. Because, right, he was on Austin City Limits twice. He may have been more than that. But, like, the first time and the last time, what was the time frame there? Anybody know? I could ask chat. Let's see if chat knows. How many times was Stevie Ray Vaughan on Austin City Limits? 3 times. 83, 89, 1990. So with his brother. Yeah, it's the 89, it's the 83, 89. That's 6 years. That's crazy. That's crazy. 6 years. And I mean, he was good in 83. That was the reason he was on Austin. I've never been on Austin City Limits. They've never asked me. They're never going to. But it was pretty crazy. And that show really single-handedly put Austin on the map. Whoever created it, whoever PBS, is that where the show was? Whoever created that show in Austin for PBS, freaking genius. Basically turned Austin single-handedly. I mean, probably the reason the show existed was because Austin already was a music town, so I don't mean to imply it turned it into a music town, but I don't know how many people actually knew it was a music town. I had a friend that moved there in, probably around 2000, maybe a little later. He worked with me with Maranatha Music, and he started working for Fender Guitars, and he worked in Austin. He was like an artist rep in Austin, so there were enough artists in Austin that they could have a Fender rep there. I forget. It seems like, what was his name? I mean, he's probably retired now. It's the beauty of having a real job. You could actually retire. It was Mark something, but how many Marks do I know? Oh, no, not that Mark, not that Mark, not that Mark. Well, I know a lot of Marks. Oh my gosh, yeah. Marks that I need to touch base with. One Mark I know lost his house in the Altadena fire. Oh, there he is. See what he's up to. Looks like he's still in Texas. Looks like he's playing more. That's good. He was kind of a crew assistant. Yeah, he's from L.A. Maybe he's getting to work as just a sideman. That would be awesome. Sorry. It's funny when you're not on Facebook very often, and if they're not on Facebook very often, oh, there he is, yeah. Where's that? Oh, he went to, yeah, he went to the grand opening of In-N-Out in Texas. Well, that makes sense. In Austin, of all places, yes. I think he's in Austin, so wow, it looks like a big city. Never been to Austin. Never been to Nashville. People are always surprised when I say I haven't been to Nashville. Stevie Ray Vaughan's legendary Live at the El Mocambo performance was filmed on July 20th, 83, and it was initial El Mocambo Club in Toronto, Canada. Oh, okay. So did they just air it? Yeah. Oh, the legend. Yeah, that particular show. Yeah. Yeah, he got it. I mean, he was kind of this perfect marriage between style, showmanship, and real skill. I would say Prince is in that camp. I would say Michael Jackson and like James Brown would be in that camp. But to James Brown, shoot, who's the piano, 50s black guy piano player? I can't think of his name. He was a big showman and he had chops. I mean, Stevie played, on his chops. I have one of it. Not Ray Charles, no. But Ray Charles was one of, but not Ray Charles wasn't as much of a showman, obviously, because he would fall off the stage. Did he write Dizzy Miss Lizzy? Not Great Balls of Fire. Not Jerry Lee Lewis. Although Jerry Lee Lewis was another one of those. Had a sense of style, showmanship, and had chops. Fats Domino, no, but you're getting close. 50s rock and roll, Godfather rock and roll. I just saw him with in a 69 video. You're gonna get there. Someone. Weeby. I don't know who that is. Not Miles Davis. No, piano player, rock and roll, early rock and roll, like one of the first rock and roll artists. Didn't write Johnny B. Good, obviously, piano player. You're gonna know. You're gonna say it. As soon as you think of it, you go, "That's who Tom's not able to think of." Not Bill Evans. You keep giving me jazz. Oscar Peterson. No, not jazz players. Like rock and roll, like early rock and roll, 55, 56, 57. Dutch piano player. Yeah, I have like black player. Yeah, I mean, he to me is Little Richard. There you go, Little Richard. No, is that right? Who inspired Prince? I think a lot of Prince's. Yeah, a lot of Prince's. I think image felt like Little Richard to me. That's who I'm thinking of, Little Richard. Sorry, let me just confirm. Yes. He just passed away. Well, he lived to be 88. That's pretty good. I always felt like he lived a hard life, but maybe he didn't. Maybe he was, felt bad for Prince. My friend Judith Hill, was working with Prince and did a couple records with him and stuff. She's on tour in Europe right now. Yeah. Jerry Lee Lewis is also great. Yeah, Jerry Lee Lewis is also one of those. It's like he was very, very talented, and he had a personality. Knew how to put on a show. Liberace was in that kind of camp. He created a personality, and it's like in some ways Stevie Ray Vaughan was kind of like a Liberace. I mean, he didn't really like move a lot, but he put on a full look. Now, let me look and see if I can find a picture of Stevie Ray Vaughan in the studio. Images. I mean, he's still wearing a hat, wearing a shiny shirt, those are, most of these are live pictures. Yeah, none of these are in the studio. Oh wait, there's a studio picture. Yeah, I mean, he's always wearing a hat. Was he balding? I don't know. Button-down shirt, you know, the shirt buttoned down the whole bit. Kind of his. So, and you know, honestly, that I don't judge that at all. Okay, because I think a lot of times I see it with singers. You know, you kind of have to put the persona on to do the performance, and you want the studio performance to be as electric as the live performance. And so, I mean, he released a lot of live recordings and videos and things like that because it was so good. I read an article years and years ago in one of the Guitar Player magazines about Eric Johnson doing a record, and he was working on, I think, Avi Musicom. So this would have been like 82 and 83, whenever that record came out. And he was such a perfectionist, and the engineer was sitting there, and he didn't really know how to run the tape deck, and he didn't want to because he wanted to punch in solos and stuff. And so he's working on this passage of a solo, and the engineer had to be there. And it's back in the day when you're using tape, it was pretty frightening. Like if you hit too late, that's not that big a deal. Like, oh, I want to enter right here on the and of 2. Make sure punch in on the and of 2, And so, but if you hit late, you might miss the beginning of his pickup, and you go, sorry, stop, I missed your intro. But if you hit too early, you're going to erase what was already there. So it's pretty freaking out. Eventually, they got automated tape decks, so you could set the spot, and it would automatically punch in. So you could kind of relax a little bit. Once you found, you could even take the wheels and find that beat and that moment where you got a good punch in. And so that was maybe a little, became a little bit less stressful. But this engineer was working on Eric's jump, and he'd been working on, oh, hey, look, did I do that? What did I do? Oh, I did. Oh, what, this? Yep, there it is. Okay, all right. So I have to do it again. So if I do the heart, look at that. Hey, Charlie. So so this engineer was working on the Eric Johnson record, and it was going very, very, very slowly. And he was spending a week on a solo or more. So he showed Eric how to do the punch-in thing to fix this, to work on this section, because he had to go and do a Stevie Ray Vaughan record, right? So he goes, this was in Austin. He goes, dude, I got to go do this Stevie Ray Vaughan record. So he leaves. He's gone for like a week, and he does 10 tracks of a Stevie Ray Vaughan record in a week. And he goes back to the studio, and Eric is still working on that same passage. Two totally different workflows, right? And I didn't really get into Stevie Ray Vaughan until after he died, and even then I didn't get into him until one of my students was really into him and wanted to learn everything. And that's when I started to realize how hard what he was doing was. And probably the hardest thing that he did was the tone, how to get that tone. And so much of it is the heavy strings and tuning down. So, yeah, we got, these weird YouTube things. The new. So that must be why the handles weren't working last week, because they were trying to implement this new, like, you are my favorite top 3 instigators. So. Again, thanks again, Charlie or Joseph, for the coffee love. I appreciate it. All right, so what time is it? Oh, it's only been like an hour and change. All right, so now is that? So if I were to go here to key, I think this is the key of D. So, oh, and all I did was, yeah, I know. And all I did was, so this, let me just check. Nope. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, it's one shy. So this is the full Santana progression. So this would be this one down here. Without the, so we go to E minor. Now, one of the things I love about that Black Magic Woman, it has that stop on beat on bar 12, and it kind of now when you're playing live and you're soloing it, kind of gets scary because you're like, I gotta fill this, yeah. So you and invariably what happens is you have a plan and then you totally don't stick the landing. It's like the pummel horse that pummels you. Especially if the beat stops, you could rush. What am I doing? Did I bounce that whole? I don't know if I bounced that whole. Let me see. Is that in the Discord? Because that would be a. I mean, that's a good. You know, we've never really talked about playing in those spots, and the fact that everything stops there, I think, yeah, it's in all of the progressions do that. So, I mean, all of the. I copy and pasted, so it's just the same thing every time. So it stops on a downbeat of 1 in that 12th bar. Playing in those spaces, man, that's it's a challenge, and keeping track of where 1 is. You know, the temptation is to speed up. Yeah, I'm trying to mess up, and I still landed the beat. I still stuck the landing. Dang it! I was trying to rush. I saw Steven Tyler in a store on Simply Harper, New Hampshire in the early 80s. Nice. He has, a nearby cottage, yeah. Nice. I bet that's just a beautiful area. Now it's just doing it. That's funny. Yeah. So I went guitar shopping with Victoria Beckham in Hollywood. Her son Cruz was a student of mine, so she wanted to get him a guitar for Christmas, so we went and picked one out. It was a Gibson of some kind. He's not. He likes Strats. He's not just a Gibson guy. All right, so it's like Chris Ria meets Carlos Santana. What? Now it's just. I have to turn it off now because it's getting irritating. All right, so the full progression. have done. What would that have sounded like if I'd done that? No, I have to start it before I have to get to it. I'm kind of doing a send up to the D minor chord there. I'm using sixths. Hard to say. Sixths are a great country tool, right? You know, you got, you know, but sixths are a very big country tool. And I was just trying to but it just, the D minor send up didn't really work. That worked a lot better. So I was kind of doing A minor, E minor, A minor, E minor to A minor. What I'm thinking. Technically, that's like a little C, a little B, a little F or A minor. This is like a little G. You're only playing two notes of when you're playing six. When you're playing any interval, when you say second, third, fourth, a fifth, play a fifth, you know, you're only playing two notes. If you say play a G chord or a minor chord, you're asking for a triad. When you say a sixth, so a sixth would be, you're talking six notes up the scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And six have kind of a wide openness to them. Really like them. I use them all. Most guitar players use them all the time. And there won't be a quiz on this. Just so you know, take a sip, everybody. Have celebration sip. But the inversion of a sixth is a third, right, Sam? So if you got like this, E to C, that's a nice sixth, but a third would be C to E. So that same lick played as thirds would be this. Didn't quite end, yeah. So yeah, I jumped down, but the last one was different. But yeah, so that was. And so the inversion, again, I'm just going to say it so that maybe someday when you hear it in the future, you'll go, wait, Tom talked about that. Oh, I understand that. But the inversion of a sixth is a third. The inversion of a seventh is a second. The inversion of a fourth is a fifth. And the inversion of a third is a sixth. So ultimately what happens is with the major and minor inversions, like major second, major third, major minor third, the inversion is going to be a minor if it's a major and a major if it's a minor, all right? And then the other thing, the numbers should add up to 9. Again, no quiz on this. I'm sorry. I don't mean to get into the weeds on inversions, but inversions, you know, are used all the time on guitar. Like I said, if I do that, Sesame Street, whatever, that's a fifth, a sixth, a seventh. I like using sevenths. Could I use sevenths on this? I could, maybe. It's a little weird. Yeah. It's a little weird, but I might accidentally, or might kind of in the middle of the moment, in the moment, trying to do that. Barry Harris theory. I've never heard of it. Woke up this morning and I think there's something clicked. No, it wasn't my hip. Barry Harris, is that a music thing? Or is that the theory that he is the creator of the universe, or I don't know. Barry Harris theory. Okay, let me look. Barry Harris. Oops, Harris theory. I'm going to add music just in case. Jazz theory, Barry Harris. Okay. Yeah, and my thing. Again, I talk about this all the time. We homeschooled, and we had three kids. We homeschooled them all the way through high school, and they went to college and did very well and got straight A's and all that. Super smart kids. And I think all three of those kids learned totally different. Like no two of them are the same. And I assume that with all of you. Now there's like 5 ways to learn or something. If there's a sixth way, that's probably me. But I try to restate things different ways. I try to look at things from different directions. That's why a lot of times when I'm even just doing stupid like scales like this, like here, not stupid scales, but A minor scale. I may go fingers, tell you, 1 3 4 1 3 4 1 3 1 2 4 1 2 4 1 3 4. I might say frets 5 7 8 5 7 8 5 7 6 4 5 7 5 6 8 5 7 8. I very likely would do notes A B C D E F G, A B C D E F G. Okay. Also, like I just said earlier, if you were here, I might say, look, play all the notes on the G string. Okay, I'll let you finish your junior high laughter. All right, or play everything on the B string. I feel like John Mayer thinks this way a lot, right? I think he does this like. He does that kind of like a lot. And so I think that he thinks that way up. But it's good to be able to see your scales across the fretboard, diagonally, and then up and down the fretboard. The number one thing you want to do on electric guitar is to memorize your fretboard. On acoustic guitar, the number one thing you want to do is come up with 1,000 different grooves. And that's only because if you tend to be an acoustic player and you want to do coffee shops, or on Twitter, I follow one of these bars that has 24-hour music in Nashville, and they stream live on Twitter. It's pretty cool. You can watch a band in there, and see a bunch of drunk people, and it's just funny. People are literally falling over drunk, and then they're taking requests, and there's a lot of talking between songs because they're like, I look at it and they're like 3-hour plus shows. I'm assuming they're taking breaks somewhere in there, but it's like, wow, it's like 3 hours of standing there playing songs, taking requests. So that's kind of one of the skills. And now they all have little iPhones or iPads that they're looking at. They pull up lyrics. But I doubt they're pulling up chords or anything, and they might, but the chords on these things are pretty simple. If you know the song, you probably know, in country music, you probably know the chords. Anyway, what was my point of bringing that up? I don't know. I don't remember my point. Sorry. Oh, just the different ways of looking at the guitar and learning something from a lot of different approaches. And so that's kind of how I teach. If we were teaching one-on-one, it'd be different. I would try to suss out in the first 5 to 6 lessons, like, what is going to be the thing that motivates you to pick up the guitar. That's what I'm hunting for. Figuring out the way you learn is part of that process. And I've had a couple students I had to say, I can't teach you anymore because I don't think I can teach. You're not learning from me for whatever reason. And that was hard because I needed the money, but I wanted to have integrity too. So, Kendo, what's going on? Let's see. It's a music thing to do with substituting dominant fifths and major thirds. Yeah. It's really brought harmonic minor theory into focus for me. Yeah, the harmonic minor thing is so interesting. We're on a sidetrack now, but harmonic minor doesn't really work on this, right? Because it's... If it went to E major there, like it went... So I could take all those G's and knock them up. Like here, it's going to be funny if I forget I did this, but where are the G's? Is that a G? That's an A. Here's the G. Are there any other? Oh, funny, because it had the G minor. Yeah, I need to get rid of that. So it doesn't really, it's not going to work with this progression. I mean, I could create a progression that would work. But for the A minors, I just have to do pure A minors. I can't do A minor 7. But one of the things that I'm kind of, I haven't memorized it yet because I feel like there's not consensus. Like with the modes, Sam, there's consensus, right? You know, Aeolian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, Mixolydian. We all know what those mean. But with the modes of the harmonic minor, like the, you know, what's, you know, but it's like, so the A, that's basically a harmonic minor, and that's what it's called. There's no other name for that, really. I mean, there may be, but. And you have, it's a diatonic scale, but you have a major third or minor third in it, which is weird. So now if I start the scale on the F, oh no, it's a major scale. It's like an F Lydian, but with a raised second. And so there's a name for that, right? Kendo, you might know the name of that. What would that be? The 6th degree of the, built on the 6th, right? Because we're in A. So the B would be. That's a very. The 5th, and I'm not. I'll do it in. Well, I can do it in E. It's very Spanish sounding to me. The 5th. I feel like there's a lot of. If I want to sound like a sitar, I'll do like D. That's the, again, the names have been kind of like, yeah, you've got them there. Harmonic minor, Locrian sharp 6, Ionian sharp 5, Dorian sharp 4, Phrygian dominant, Lydian sharp 2, and super Locrian. And I've heard other names for those. Have you not heard other names for those? The assistant, yeah, AI. I've heard other names for those too, so that's where I'm like, I never memorized the names just because I was like, well, which one is it? I couldn't come up with consensus. Now with the internet, you know, and then I would have to find a use for it. But there definitely in like some heavy metal kind of context, I think you can find some use. Oh, thank you, Kendo. Yeah, so you're not disagreeing with it. Yeah, so. Yeah, see, Hungarian, it's like, is that one of those? Hungarian minor, it's the same as one of those? Is that a separate? Because the double, what's the double Locrian or the double Dorian or whatever? That one's the Miserlou scale. That's not one of those scales. That's a weird, like the Miserlou, right? And I know, it's like a double harmonic minor or double harmonic major. I don't know. What's the name of that one, Sam? And it's not one of the modes of a harmonic minor, because we literally have 3 half steps in a row. There's no diatonic or harmonic diatonic. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's like that scale I'm assuming it's an E scale, right? If I went to here, then that would be a harmonic minor, but the E, the Dorian, what did you call that? The Phrygian dominant. That makes sense. Phrygian dominant, the flat 2. You could call it a dominant with a flat 2, right? Dominant flat 2. See, that's another name for it. But Phrygian dominant makes sense. But it's not that. It's just crazy. Oh, you have to go. That's all right. We're gonna finish up here. We're getting into the weeds. But Kendall, this is kind of how it goes. I start out talking about one thing and we end up on a whole other subject. But yeah, we're and like I said, the next 3 Mondays. I'm just the way things have lined up. I'm not going to be here or able to do this, but I will try to. I will try to be here on Tuesday next week, maybe. We'll see what happens. I mean, the weeks fill up. I've got stuff going on. This month is kind of full. Got to run too. Well, yeah, you guys have a great week. I'll hopefully see you next Tuesday. If not, I'll see you in a month. Holy cow. So, but we'll who knows? Maybe I can do another day of the week. But we'll talk. Anyway, God bless you all. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay healthy. Drink lots of water. I have to drink lots of water. Hate water. So I just drink big gulps of it. I'm trying to drink at least one of these, and at best 2 of these. But it always makes me nauseous. Like I feel like I'm going to throw up right now. If it's cold, it's really bad. So I use room temperature. So, and I just chug it. Hey, Richard, good to see you. All right, God bless you all. Take care. Oh, where are we, by the way? What? Analytics. Viewer. Oh, all right. We beat to 24. That's not bad. And that was recent, too. So, thanks for hanging out. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.